Welcome back to the Teacher's AI Cafe. I'm Kane, a teacher and a parent who wants AI to give us back our time. I share practical classroom-tested AI strategies to cut down your workload, improve your feedback and reduce stress so you can get your evenings back and be more present with your friends and family. No jargon, just actionable steps. Grab your mug. Now let's get going. Welcome back to the podcast. After the success of the last episode with Kayla talking about her experience as a science teacher, today we have a school leader join us today. And I'm looking forward to hearing that different perspective of someone in leadership within a very large school as opposed to your everyday classroom teacher. Let's get into it. I'd like to welcome James today, a teacher in leadership position in his school. I'll get him to introduce himself and tell me a little bit about yourself, James.
Yeah, been in education for 15 years, more recently in an associate principal position at a large government high school. And really enjoying this space that technology is providing at the moment. I think it's really exciting and trying to work with staff on what we can do around that space and trying to implement those things.
Yeah, I think it's really good to have someone from leadership. Obviously, the other people interview are mainly teachers. I guess before you got into leadership, what was your actual teaching background or area?
Yeah, so my background was in science. I'm always biased towards science. I think we're the luckiest subjects. We get to have that good mix of theory and also having all of the experiments and all that sort of fun stuff. That's super engaging for the kids. So
I don't think you get to blow up as many things as we used to.
Not as many as we used to, no.
That's fantastic. So how would you describe your relationship with tech in the classroom? I guess primarily, were you a big tech user coming through your teaching journey?
I think I was a big tech user because I went pretty hard into all of the Microsoft space. So all the OneNote and OneDrive and all those sorts of things, I think largely because it helped me organize myself.
Yep.
And I didn't like the continually rewriting things over and over. And if I had a space where I could just have everything, I liked it in that respect. And I just moved more into it as I saw it as a way to engage kids using tech in that space and streamline a lot of the sort of usual processes that we were doing. So yeah, OneNote and Class OneNote was I was a big implementer in that, and we've rolled that out in the school and OneDrive and all those sorts of things. Yeah, people are just finding lots of efficiencies in those sorts of spaces. Yeah, I was always a really early adopter of any newfangled technology that comes out. It wasn't always good, but I always saw that classrooms were a good space to really road test these things and experiment and try them out and see if things worked or not. Yeah. Because you find out pretty quickly from the kids if it's going to work or not.
Yeah, I tend to start with my good class. I'll try things and then roll it out into my... So I was saying your school, most of the students have devices?
Yeah, so we're not a BYOD school, unusually. However, all the classes have laptops, which the kids all have their Microsoft subscriptions on, and everything's saved in the cloud, so they have everything through there anyway.
Yep, so... Good to see you. I find a lot of teachers do like to get into tech.
Yeah.
But not all going through. Moving on to AI, which is what we hear about. What prompted you? How did you start exploring AI? What was it? Curiosity? Want to save time? Necessity?
Yeah.
Were you in leadership position when AI came out, or was that before when you were in the classroom?
I was still in a leadership position, but still teaching at the time as a program coordinator role. I ultimately am a really lazy person. Yeah, I think essentially. So I'm very lazy, but I'm also, part of my role was around engagement. So I would teach things like classroom management strategies and instructional strategies for engagement for teachers. And initially, when you look at the intersect of what good teaching looks like and the amount of work that it looks like, and then you get frameworks like the high impact teaching strategies, all those sorts of things. And you think, how are we supposed to cram all of this curriculum plus all of these different engagement strategies into a classroom? Yep. It can look really difficult. And I found AI initially was a really great way to bridge that divide and allow you to still meet all of the curriculum elements, but also develop really highly engaging lessons with the help of AI. It takes away a lot of that cognitive load in terms of thinking about how am I going to engage all these kids and differentiate and scaffold and do all of the things that we have to do and all those big ticket words, but do it all in a quick and efficient, streamlined way.
Okay, so I guess over the last 2.5 years, have you found the AI models improve in terms of the responses that you've been getting from the early days?
Yes, but I think also you start to learn, I use it virtually daily, but I think you start to learn what to get out of it. I also have a paid subscription to my OpenAI, the ChatGPT as well.
Use that one, yes.
I've used all of them, but I have a subscription to that one. I still dabble with the other free ones. And I think the more you use it, the more you start to learn how it works and how to get the output that you want from it. But you really only get there once you actually give yourself time to play with it. Yeah, I think I have gotten better outputs out of it. I think initially it was like quite simple results that I was getting. And as you go along, you start to try to push the envelope of what more can I get out of this? And I guess it's a way of training your brain to go, okay, here's something that I have always done. Now, how can I try and get AI to maybe take some of that load away?
Yeah, that's good. So that leads really nicely in I guess the next question is, I guess, how it changed your workflow in your, I'm really curious because a lot of the examples we get and the ones I give are classroom specific sort of activities teachers can roll out. I guess, how do you use it within admin? Do you use it within admin and things like paperwork and things like policies, document generation? Have you used that as well as the classroom? But I'll be curious because I know a lot of people often get asked and I say, look, I'm not in admin. I can't really, I can give ideas, but it'd be interesting how you use it.
If you're talking about policies, for example, if you wanted to create a good AI policy, for example, what we did is I basically took every available government public document that there is to do with generative AI, the overall education department things, and you take a range of different things and you put it into almost like that projects process and you go, look, I want to create a policy, and it comes out as something that's 8 pages, but it took me 15 minutes to go through. And then you can just go through and refine as the process goes on to go, okay, now let's massage it into the context of our school. Some other things that I've found it good for is I know at the end of the year, a lot of classes will start to go through a process of, okay, let's look at all of, let's say, our year 8 science classes. They're going to go into year 9 science next year. And we want to shuffle the classes up based on different criteria. A lot of those things we can take it out of, say, reporting to parents, for example, and assign a behaviour score, which might be against students' ABEs, could do ABCs and gender and all that sort of thing. And then you can run it through AI and go, hey, can you create me a spreadsheet that mixes up all the classes, but gives me even gender, even spread of grades, even spread of behaviours, all of those sorts of things. And that is something that you can do with a spreadsheet nice and easily, but it's going to take you hours and hours, and you can get it done in minutes. So that's a really quick example that we found really easy to do that sort of class sorting.
Data analysis,
and then mixing up. Look, you could go, okay, let's put a mark in the spreadsheet against all of the students who, for example, are funded students, and you might want to evenly spread them out. You might want to put more of them into a particular class so that you can more equitably distribute your resource funding, those sorts of things as well. So it's really good with that sort of thing. As long as the spreadsheet is set up appropriately, you can really get a really good output because it will create spreadsheets for you with, here is all the tabs down the bottom with all of the individual classes with all the students in there, and have that for you de-identified with the SCARSA numbers, so it won't have them in there, and then you can just do a VLOOKUP and change the names back in afterwards.
Good Excel skills as well.
Yes, that's right. You'd still need to have a little bit of that. But I think that's one of the other things is that people get a little bit scared of using Excel in a sort of dynamic way. And I've found that my Excel skills have probably gotten a hell of a lot better because I've used AI and just gone, hey, I'm doing this in Excel. This is the exact thing that I want to do. Can you tell me the commands that I need to put in there to be able to give me the output that I want?
Yeah, it's really good at giving that sort of advice. And I guess at the department, we don't get access to Copilot, which obviously businesses do, where it's built in there, which is their version of OpenAI.
However, there is, on the new Microsoft update, you'll notice that Copilot chat actually comes up if you're opening it up in any of the web applications. So if you do have spreadsheets now, if you do have PowerPoint with, for example, Department of Education schools, it will have that in there and it'll be able to analyze any of the data that you've got in those spreadsheets natively in there now. So that's just come, I believe that's come out just in the last week or so.
Oh, that's good. Yes. Yeah. I know previously it was enabled and then we couldn't get access to it again.
Yeah.
And so obviously the department's working through that with Microsoft.
A really wonderful thing that I presented this to primary school teachers. Now, in our high school, we don't do comments at the moment, but I know a lot of primary schools are. I know you can make your own GPTs, or in Gemini, you can make gems, those sorts of things. So a really great thing that I showed them that they really appreciated is where you can basically create your own AI version that is a report comment writer. And so what you might do is you go, hey, I want you to take everything that I say, turn it into professional language, take out all of my ums and ahs and all of those sorts of things and turn it into good educational speak. Then you can go and upload previous report comments that you have used as a basis. So it is in your language. And then what I showed them is go, okay, now I'm going to talk about this student. James is a careless student. He doesn't do all of his work. He disrupts others, blah, 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 blah. And then it turns it into an appropriate comment just from you speaking into it. And it makes it easier for people to go through the flow of putting their work.
Yeah, I find the verbal command is really useful because I suppose I'm a terrible typer. It doesn't matter in AI what you type because it predicts the next word, so it works out what you're going to say. But the ability to just articulate and speak what you think, and then have it modify and improve it and clean it up for you. And we don't do report comments at my school, so that's a nice change. But prior to that, yes, it would have been certainly a useful feature on that.
Yeah.
So I guess thinking about, you mentioned you mentioned the tool OpenAI. Is there any other tool, for example, I like using Gamma, if you use that for PowerPoints. Is there a tool strategy one tool you think all teachers should use, or one strategy maybe in ChatGPT that you think they should learn this one thing to get them started? And
look, I think the base AIs, so whether they're Copilot or OpenAI or Gemini, people should really learn how to use those, because a lot of those other products, I know there's teacher-specific AI products that are coming out. They're all based on those other base models anyway. They're all powered by them.
We call them wrappers.
Yeah.
So they're just wrapping around AI, and that's why I say people should learn them yourself. They all got Magic School's a very popular one.
Yeah, very popular.
And it's great. You get so much, it's free, and then you've got to pay.
Yeah.
Whereas essentially they just do all the prompts for you, so you don't have to type it in. But if you learn to do the prompts, you can do a lot more, and it's cheaper for you in the long run, and you can do more.
And I think from a teacher's point of view, a lot of the free models are appropriate for a lot of the time saving that teachers are going to get out of it anyway. And so I really encourage my staff to play in that area and just get to learn it. And I'll initially start by saying, okay, the output let's start by just it taking away workload. So what's the output that you want to get from it? You know exactly what you want. It's your professional judgment. You've got a starting point. Now you're just going to talk like you've got your own admin assistant to get yourself to that point. One of the ones that we were doing is, I know in our science department, they were re-looking at all of their assessments that they were doing, because they felt, for example, in year 7 that their assessments were not as rigorous as they might have liked. So what we did is we went and took like all of the grade descriptors that we have in waste and all those sorts of things, and go, okay, so this is what an A in biological science question might assess, and B and C and all that sort of thing. We took all of those grade descriptors and ran tests through it and said, okay, how many A-level questions, B-level questions, C-level questions are in there? And you have to moderate it a little bit and check it
as you always do.
As you always do. And what we found, and we agree, and we got humans to do it as well as machine, and moderate it against it, and found that it did a pretty reasonable job of going, some of these tests are like 80% C-level questions. So therefore, are we testing kids appropriately? And so then we can literally just go in there and go, hey, can you take these 4 C-level questions and turn them into a B-level question and turn them into an A-level question, and add some Aboriginal, local, Indigenous science language and questions around there. And it rewrote a lot of these tests. And obviously we cast our professional judgment on it, and we make sure it's all still appropriate. But these are rewriting tests that would take hours and hours to do, and you're getting them done in a session.
One I like to do, I've done with colleagues, is also looking at their assessments and then getting it, look at the assessments and review all the teaching content and see whether they actually cover all the concepts in the program. But then what they're going to assess them on, because often you can find gaps because some schools programs have been there for years. And then they modify assessments, and there's changes
to curriculum that are happening a lot as well. Where you can fill those gaps really quickly, I think is really good. I think getting staff to find better engagement strategies is good. I think what happens in teaching sometimes, especially in upper school, is that everybody falls to what is the easiest version of teaching to do. And so people do the old PowerPoint thing and all that sort of thing. And that's fine. Sometimes you've got to do that. You've got to have that almost lecture style, but it becomes easy to just do that all the time. And I think with AI, what I'm finding is people are coming to me and telling me all these different things that they're doing that, yes, they still do a little bit of that, but they're also going to do a little bit of this in the classroom now, which really invigorates the kids and excites them and all those sorts of things, where they didn't do it before because they didn't feel like they had the time. Now people are finding the time because they're getting what they want out of the AI.
The prep, And also from the flip side of that, I used to, my Year 10 pre-ATAR class, and I was asking how they want to learn. They just want to do PowerPoints. Because they don't have to think. They can just sit there and write. Copy it down, switch their brain off, and then move on to the next one. That sounds really good. Big question, I guess, particularly someone who's in leadership. Do you think AI is looking at the playing field in education? Is it actually making the gaps wider between the haves and the haves not? Or do you think over time it'll actually bring advantages or growth for, I guess, in our case, lower socioeconomic students? I know your school's pretty mixed, but there's fairly highly socially economic.
I think it will cause a greater divide. The reason I say that is a lot of the private schools, as an example, they have a lot of the paid versions of these things. So they're in a better place where they're probably playing with it more, and they don't have limited of tokens, and so they can. It's just early adopter, right? The more time you put into these things, the better you get at it, and the better outputs you get out of it. Also, the kids who go home and their parents might have it, and they've had paid versions, and they get to play with it and explore it and get to understand it. I think the divide will get bigger if, especially in public education, if the money isn't put into making sure that the kids are given the same appropriate resources to be able to be on the same playing field. And I think this is one of the problems that might happen in the public education spaces, where we try to over-policy some of these things. And if you are always trying to apply a policy to generative AI, sometimes those policies can take 18 months to come out.
Every time I've seen education minister, I've asked him, when can the students get access to it?
Generative AI has changed enough, and then they'll say, well, now we need to redefine what that policy is. And I think you need to have a more generic sort of policy that allows teachers to be professionals and apply their professional judgment, because that would be a bit of a coverall in a policy. And that way the kids can have access to it. At the moment, the only real thing that the education department is allowing is teachers to be able to use it.
Yes.
However, kids already are accessing it in a myriad of different places, and no guardrails up and all that sort of thing. I think education has a real place to go, okay, we need to teach kids how to use it appropriately. This is how you use
100%.
it. And not just how to use it appropriately, but these are where the pitfalls are. And showing them that it has bias, and showing them that it has the hallucinations and can get things wrong and all those sorts of things as well. I think it's important for kids to find that, because they are not going to discover that on their own. I believe that at the moment, a lot of what's coming out, they're going, it's like Google, right?
Yes.
It comes out, it's true, and that's it.
Exactly. And the interesting side of that, obviously, I've seen my students, they just log in. They don't log in. They just do a guest account.
Yeah.
And so obviously the department blocks it, but if they log in as a guest, they can use it.
Yeah.
And then obviously it doesn't save any of their prompts and things when they log out again. But initially, since I've been on leave, I've spent a bit of time in a couple of private schools. I've been asking the students there.
Yeah.
The ones I've gone to, and I know some private schools are really into it, but I have a more expensive one. But others, they've had no training.
Yeah.
So the teachers haven't had training, and the students haven't been shown how to use it, even though they've got access to it. And a few times they would ask, oh, can we use AI? And I said, yeah, that's fine. But there's no formal structure themselves, because the teachers don't know. Which is the point I'm trying to get to with this podcast. Once we know, we can then instruct them how to use it effectively and responsibly.
That's right. I've got some teachers that are starting to play in that space, where they're getting the kids to use it just using like their Microsoft 365 accounts. They've got access to Copilot. Yeah. And so they're using it in there. I've got one teacher at the moment who's been having a play with getting kids to get feedback for their practice essays, things like that, based on marking rubrics. We still invigilate our assessments, especially for English, things like that. So they're still going to be handwritten in class for the feedback cycle. So basically what she was doing is showing them how to effectively prompt to take their work that they might have been doing a practice paragraph in OneNote. They go and upload it into there, and they get feedback on it. Not marking it, because the marking is way too variable.
Yes.
But the feedback that the AI would give would be really good. And she said, essentially what it means is, instead of kids getting feedback from me once a week, maybe they can get feedback 15 times a week if they really want to. And so the feedback cycle is shorter and faster. And she also found, she did it with gifted and talented students, that over a period of time, their essay writing was getting significantly better through this process.
As Hattie said, feedback is the most impactful sort of thing we can do.
But it needs to be effective feedback. So let's show the kids how to get effective feedback in that space.
I did say my daughter, she's in year 11 doing history. And I'll say with the history, because I'm a history teacher in my background.
Yeah.
And I say, put the history teacher up. But I ask her, when you put your prompt, she puts the marking key up there, obviously. Puts the topic and puts the draft in there. But what she specifically asked to do is identify gaps in her essay.
Yep.
So then it'll list her. Then she's got to sit down and decide, oh, no, I can't cover all that in my hour of writing.
Yep.
And then she's got to articulate or decide, okay, I'm going to focus on these. I'm going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So it actually forces learning on the student as well. Because they're getting this feedback, okay, I've got to adapt and change.
Yep.
And improve. I think that's fantastic.
I think there's a big space for teaching students who are, for example, neurodiverse and or have different kinds of needs, how to effectively use AI to be able to make the content for themselves more accessible as well.
Yes.
I think there's a big space for that, where kids might get given work and they can very easily on their own go and change the readability of the
Yes.
work and do all these different sorts of things, make it taking away some of their lowering the executive function that's required to actually access the work. We were looking at year 11 and 12. You look at all of the kids, they get their course outlines and it's got when all their assessments are. And all the course outlines, they're not necessarily all in the same format and everything. And kids, they might miss assessments or not know when they're coming up. We were showing them, here's how you throw all of your course assessments into AI and then go, hey, can you give me a calendar?
Yep.
So for a kid who has low executive function, to be able to just take all of those, which is a whole lot of information to process, put it into there and create a study calendar that they can really pull out really quickly and go, here's when all of my assessments are over the course of the year. They see that in one space. That's really useful for those sorts of kids.
Yes.
And we know that kids in, for example, gifted and talented, they tend to be in that twice exceptional place where they are very knowledgeable, book intelligent, that sort of thing, but executive function can be a little bit lower. And so this is how we can support your kids to be better in that sort of a space.
A lot of work to do in that. And I think you touched on it, but I just want to get a bit more of your view. I think, should AI, I guess at an undergraduate level, for training teachers, could AI be core part of teacher training, like behaviour manager? Obviously, literacy is a big one. And want to add on to it, because there's no set structure within our public system at the moment, what are you doing actively within your school to support teachers or get them to use them? Have you mentioned what formal structures or PD have you put in there? And I'm curious of what sort of resistance or things or pushback with it have you been getting?
I'm in a very supportive school. I'm getting no resistance.
Okay.
The staff are wanting this. We've been doing after school PLs they're non-mandatory. People can come along to. They've been highly subscribed.
Oh, good.
I'm putting a PL on PLIS in term 4.
Yes.
So I've got 12 of my staff, but I'm going to put it out to other staff from other schools they want to come along to as well, because I think, and I've got basically a one day PL that I'm going to do where people are already doing it. So I don't want to do just the basics. I want to start to move into what else can we do and but also to guide people through, this is how you can use it, but then give a period of time at the end of that PL where people have time and space to ideate, to play and guide them through that process. And then also to have an accountability to that and go, okay, once you've done that, I want you to show me, I want you to report back to me and show me how it went, what was the effectiveness on the classroom, and essentially create like a community of teachers that are really pushing this space. Ideally, what I would like to have in my school as well is to have, let's say, year 7 science. They're doing biological sciences in year 7 in term 1. Over the course of the 40 lessons that they might do in the term, I think it'd be great if, say, every second Friday, there was a specific lesson where AI was incorporated in some manner. And the reason for that is one, let's start to introduce kids to it a little bit and where they might need to play with it, but also where they start to find the pitfalls. So, for example, let's say you're looking at Gothic literature in English, for example, get AI to then write a paragraph, a couple of pages worth of Gothic literature, and then the kids get it and they have to then analyze the Gothic literature writing that the AI did to mark it, basically, to say how good it was. And what they will find is it's not always that great, but what they're doing is they're showing their higher order thinking to apply their content knowledge whilst also learning that AI is not always going to be perfect, as an example.
Or you can deliberately do it. What I've done at Flipping History is I deliberately give them a history essay and deliberately put mistakes in there.
Yeah.
And then they got to go through, mark and correct the mistakes. So it gets them to approach the content in a different way.
Yeah. But even in, say, if you were in, I found this effective for my son. So my son is ASD, so he's autism spectrum disorder. And he will find it hard at times to get into other people's heads. It's a theory of mind. And what I found is getting him to prompt AI to create short stories that he likes has been really effective for him to start to try and get more out of it. Because what I find is that the AI doesn't necessarily create a story exactly how he wants. And so he'll get frustrated at it and go, no, I want this to happen and I want that to happen. And so he has to use better language to be able to get that out of him. One of my English teachers, they were getting kids they were showing an image on a board, like some sort of an AI generated image that he created. And then he wanted to get the kids to describe the image into AI to try and generate the image
Recreate it.
again.
Yes. Yeah.
And what they found is some simple language wasn't going to work. So the kids were forced to try and use more expressive language and to be more creative with those sorts of things, therefore increasing their literacy capabilities and those sorts of things as well, but in a highly engaging way.
Yeah.
So it's little things like that. I think it can become a really great tool for us that creates the feedback and education cycle faster for kids.
Yeah. The literacy is actually a big part of AI.
Yeah.
Ordinary, so ability to clearly articulate
Yep.
in language, and obviously voice gets around that a little bit.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Coming through, I'm sure English teachers, that's how to push it to them.
Yeah.
They'll be really good, really literate to be able to use this new technology tool coming through.
Yeah.
Put
Yeah.
more value to their subject. I guess way to get the students engaged in English. I know a lot of find they all have to do it. But
Yeah.
enjoy
Yeah.
it.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, that's fantastic. Okay, I guess looking forward, where do you think? I guess you've mentioned some of this already, because something else where AI would like to go next. Well, what would you like AI to be able to do that it doesn't do at the moment for you?
I think the things that I'm interested in, the space that is going to next, is the agents.
Yes.
Where you can get ongoing tasks to happen over and over. But the other one I'm interested in is, and I know Claude is doing this to a degree, Gemini a little bit as well, where you can essentially make your own apps and own applications that...
Yeah, you can do it. OpenAI does it. There's documentation on that. It's still early days for them for that.
Yeah. And I know even Canva Education, I think if teachers aren't on Canva Education, I don't know what you're doing. Canva Education is fantastic. But to be able to create like an application that does exactly the thing that you want to present to the kids, and you're able to show that into the classroom, I think that's a really powerful thing, because I think teachers ultimately have a really good idea already of the kids, what they want, what they need, what's going to be effective for them. But ultimately we're limited a lot of the time by time. And so to be able to say to AI, hey, I want to create a historical timeline that is interactive, that kids can just jump into and find and explore and all these sorts of things. And then it just goes, bang, here you go. Here's that for the kids. And you can give them it to explore and play with. I think that's the next frontier of where that resource creation will come.
But we're going to get teachers on the prompting bit first.
Yeah.
And even so, why it's even before agents that are showing civics and law teacher, and they've got to be up to date for all the latest things.
Yeah.
I showed her how you can automate it to actually go find articles. So she wrote every Monday, she gets a summary of the week and links of all the latest political related articles. And then she can just grab those out and then go to the originals and use them in a classroom. Saving lots of words. Previously, I know you'd always be trying the internet trying to find those
materials.
Articles. And you can send them, go automatically find you, sends you an email saying this is what's come through, and you can go have a look at it.
It was good as well. We did that for HAS as well. They were saying source analysis texts always take hours and hours to find and everything. And so we're going, okay, let's try and find out a way to do this. And so we'd throw the tests into AI and go, look, we want essentially this same question, but we just want a different text. This is 15 years old or something. And not only do we want that, we want something from the past 2 years that's Australian or Western Australian. And then it would go and find the source. And then we just obviously follow the links and make sure it's all appropriate and real and everything. And then something that was taking them hours before, we're getting done in 10 minutes now.
Yes. They say it's the end of Google. They're going through. Yeah, but definitely we're only at the beginning. As I say, it's the smartest it's ever been and also the dumbest.
Absolutely.
That Simpson meme.
Yeah.
So I guess any final thoughts, warnings, encouragement for teachers starting their AI journey?
I would what I say to teachers is I go, find one lesson a week, one lesson a fortnight where you want to engage kids in a particular way. And just play. I think that's the biggest thing with it, play. You can do it on your phone whilst you're sitting and watching some sort of trashy reality TV. Yeah. You can do it in there and just type in a couple of prompts and see what you get out of it and have a conversation with it. I think that's the biggest thing. We have people at our school that are of all ages, and we've even been able to get the people who are of the older generation that don't use a lot of technology in the classroom, who just like their whiteboards, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And we've managed to get them to go, hey, I've found some really easy ways to get some stuff out of this with 5 minutes of just back and forth.
Yes.
And I think that's it. You just got to get in there and play. I don't think there's any risk in doing that. No. There's absolutely zero risk. You are the professional. All you're doing is just moderating the output.
Yes. And my background also, from IT, and I said, you can't hurt computers.
Yeah.
If you put something worse, you just hit delete and start a new chat.
Yep.
And think, well, that didn't work. I'm going to adjust it now and try something different.
Yeah. I think it's be curious and experiment. I think that's the biggest thing. And I think if you do that, that's where I think education is exciting.
Yes.
And that's where I think it's interesting and engaging. And I think then you bring that excitement and engagement to the classroom, and the kids really feed off of that, and it can make you a more engaging educator, I think.
Cool. Brilliant. Thank you, James, for coming on today. The chat has been absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure our listeners will find it very useful.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Excellent. Thank you. Nice. As always, thank you for listening today, and I hope you found it useful. It was definitely a really interesting conversation, and I'll put it out to all other listeners out there. Wherever you are in the world, we can do it online through a video chat. If you're interested in coming online and talking about your experiences with AI, certainly do contact me with an email, send me a direct message, go through the Facebook group, whatever the case may be. I'd just like to remind you, if you enjoyed this podcast, pass it on to colleagues. The more people who know how to use AI, as we've just heard in this conversation, because the better we get at teachers in using AI, the better our life-work balance is, the more opportunities and ideas we can work with to go with our students. And you heard from this conversation, lots of good ideas have come out of using AI, just in a bit of the planning side, to approach teaching problems or challenges in a different way that may be more engaging or different for the students, piquing their interest. As always, teaching is an evolving game. We're always learning, and AI should be a central tool for you to actually do that. Until then, keep experimenting with AI, try one or two little things, build your confidence in it. Keep up the good work with your students, and I'll talk to you next time. No.